You so
Okay.
funny.
We'll just lip sync.
3.
There you go. Just like Mariah Carey.
Have yourself a stubby little Christmas. Make the season shine. From now on, you can make your own beer and wine. Have yourself a stubby little Christmas. Let us ease the pain. With our help, you will be brewing with all grain. Soon you'll be making golden ales, hoppy West Coast pales, and more. Porters and stouts that are so robust that they simply must be adored. Brew the beers and life will be much better. We can show you how. With each sip, your friends will all be saying, wow. So have yourself a stubby little Christmas now.
Yes! I love you, Stubby.
May it haunt your nightmares.
Welcome back to Come and Brew It Radio, coming to you from Texas Brewing Inc. in Haltom City, Texas. You can find us on the web at txbrewing.com and be sure to follow us on Facebook and share with your friends. In this episode, we'll be discussing a few Patreon listener submissions and trying the samples of Czech pills that Stubby brought back from his latest trip to Europe. Being a patron has its benefits, and tonight we'll be speaking with patrons Aaron Rogers and Joey Carter about their beers. Plus, we have a few odds and ends for your enjoyment, so pour some Pivo and prepare yourselves because it's time to talk brewing.
Release the Kraken!
Before
on,
we
you
get
should've just done
started, please be sure to check out our Patreon account to help support the show. Every little bit counts, and if you visit patreon.com/come and brew it radio, we have a variety of options for you to help keep the show going, get involved, and improve it. Also, every live show will have a giveaway for all our patrons, and at the end of each month, we'll be doing a monthly product giveaway for all our $5, $10, and $20 patrons. I'm Nigel.
I'm Greg.
I'm Brandon.
I'm not studying.
Michael.
I'm Joey.
And Justin's here too, he's shy.
Yeah,
Hey, one thing I want to cover real quick. We touched on this at the end of an episode, but I think
What, you're not gonna eat
I'm going to say, you're not going to talk about the intro?
particularly on that episode, I don't know how many people were still listening at the time. So when we're talking about asking people to donate to the Patreon thing, I think it's important that everybody realizes you don't listen to any commercials on our show. We don't have any sponsors, and we don't ever endorse any equipment or anything like that. That's because they're asking us to. We just do it because we like it. And the reason is because we don't have any sponsorship at all. And the only reason we can do that is through the support of our patrons. So just keep that in mind. We talked about it at the very end of a show, and I thought, man, I bet there's only a couple people even listening at this point. So I wanted to.
There are only a few people listening now after the intro.
Right.
That turned them away real fast.
Yeah, I'm going on The Voice next week, so, you know,
What as?
an ass.
The chairs will turn the opposite direction.
I may have to go. I may give that one guy what did shebangs. You remember that guy? What was his name?
William Hung.
Oh, William Hung. Yeah, that's right.
Or run for his money.
You could be
Wow,
William
that's-
Wellhung.
Well, how would you
Or
know?
William not so well hung.
Oh.
Shots fired out of left field there.
All right, so we've got a lot to talk about on the show tonight. We got a couple of patrons we've been looking to talk to and get on the show for quite a while now. I'm really looking forward to that. We got to try some of Joey's beer before the show, and I'm looking forward to talking about that a lot. There's a
And
couple
we do
really
have Joey
interesting
here
things
with
about
us,
that.
so-
Yeah, he's actually in studio here, which is nice. We're gonna call up Aaron and have him on the phone. Oh yeah, wave for the camera. There you go. So let's get right to it.
So we're gonna just go right into recent happenings.
Yeah, we might as well. We got a lot to cover tonight, so.
I don't even have an outline, so
Oh, they're all down here.
Do you need one?
no, I know the only thing that I saw that was recent. Brewery is actually closing out in West Texas. Which one?
Big Bend.
Big Ben.
That is a for sure deal, but you know, that really sucks for those guys. But man, I think they're behind the 8 ball where they started. I mean, Marfa's not exactly.
They're in Marfa.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's way out there.
for those of you who are not Texans or not real familiar with Texas geography, there's you can kind of draw a line down from Dallas Fort Worth down through Waco and then Austin and San Antonio and all that, and then down in the south of Texas you can get out to the Mexico border. Above that, all the way up to El Paso, there are thousands of square miles where there's just nothing. And Marfa is right in the middle of that.
Literally in the middle of nowhere.
I bet Marfa. I would be willing to bet a 300-mile radius. There's not a town that has 150.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Yeah, 300-mile radius. That's probably about right.
Well, I do know. I've kind of kept up with this, and because I love Big Bend, they did a wonderful national park half, is what they called it. It won gold. Actually,
And that's what their name is from. They're in the middle of Big Bend National Park. out in the middle.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they actually just posted the official announcement about an hour ago. Of course, my Facebook's now not pulling it up, but they won gold at the World Beer Cup this past year for that Hefeweizen. But they had a big expansion coming in San Antonio, and that kind of goes into the next part, which is kind of rumored about the DME thing. But from what I understand, the San Antonio expansion cost them a lot, and they had some problems. So that's what they're temporarily ceasing operations, as they put it. So
Yeah, well, that means they're hoping someone will come along with a bunch of money and bail them out.
they did say that they have 2 new releases. They have another one. They have a release coming in January, and then they said Valentine's Day. I guess those are cellared things that they've had on the books. So, but everything else is from what I understand from my Austin people, everything's been flooding the market the last couple days. Some of the barrel aged cellared stuff has been hitting market. So
Yeah, just trying to get it out while they can.
exactly.
And
I mean, I just can't imagine from a logistical standpoint that would be very profitable.
Yeah.
Whether you're I would assume you have to be a production brewery, right?
I don't know.
Can be, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I mean, how many people? What is the population of Marfa? It couldn't be more than 15,000, 20,000. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
And
a
there's
tourist
got to
town,
be some
though.
tourism.
There's a
through
lot of
there,
tourism
but-
out there. Not just for the parks and whatever, but for the supposed
The
alien
Marfa lights.
Yeah, whatever.
A lot of sand.
Dude, you go through the stuff in New Mexico that brings that stuff in, you'll see a lot of people there that are just there for that, you know.
I think you just named their beer line Marfa and Marfa Light.
I thought it was the product.
Actually, they have a barrel aged Marfa Lights that's supposed to be
Barfa lights.
They said Marfa.
Barfa lights.
That could be their
High school
imperial.
name, yeah.
Their quad is 14%.
Designed for butt chugging. So, like you said, that kind of ties into one of the other recent happenings we have here, and that's the equipment manufacturer Diversified Metal Engineering (DME) out of Canada, going out of business. The story that I read is that they're leaving a lot of breweries holding the bag. There was a list of 10 or 12 breweries that had large deposits down on equipment.
Big name
that they
breweries.
Yeah, big name breweries. There was several AB InBev breweries.
Yeah.
Yes.
10 Barrel and Elysian
Yeah.
were on that
Elysian
list,
were
if
the
I
two
remember
that-
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So New Belgium and
The soundboard makes its first appearance.
Yeah, New Belgium was on there.
Founders, I think.
There were a couple
Yeah.
big name
Yeah,
breweries.
Founders. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So this company, I guess, merged with another equipment manufacturer up there a couple of years ago, and As I understand it, they're just broke and they're going out of business. The article said that all these companies that had these deposits down on their equipment are losing it. You said you have other information?
I heard somebody says, no, that's not going to happen. It's just going to, it may take them a lot longer than what they actually had planned on, if ever.
That's if
But
they're
this
shutting
was-
down.
this
I mean,
was a lawyer that was telling me this. So.
and I read
We
something.
would do some of the back.
okay.
And I read something yesterday that, and of course this is just Facebook rumors that I've been reading, but that one of the people involved with Big Bend also was Live Oak Bank, who is known to finance a lot of breweries, that they also had an interest in the DME company. So because they had some capital in the DME, that maybe some of their bank customers might also get, might be able to get their equipment is kind of what.
Probably insured.
Yeah, and it was something to that effect that they were using the same financial lender or something, so they.
I'm sorry, I can't think of anything but dried malt extract every time y'all say.
I know.
DME.
I know. I thought the same thing when I was reading the story. I
Yeah,
thought that's an
I was
odd
reading
name.
your the group chat thing, and I was like, oh, they're having DME problems, eh?
That's one of the things though that is absolutely amazing to me, and I think you're going to see more and more and more of this happen because I think you think there's competition in the beer industry. My God, dude, you go to CBC, there's 500 different manufacturers of brewing equipment, and then on top of that you got European, and then you also have
Chinese.
manufacturers. And I mean, even people that have never done pro brewing equipment are now doing it. Now you got some people like Stainless, SS Brewtech,
Blickman.
Blickman's doing some now. I mean, it's like everybody's jumping into the market. So I think you're really going to see a lot more of these manufacturers. I mean, even if you have 4,000 breweries and you got 500 manufacturers, there's not a whole lot to go around there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't see that being a profitable. And that's exactly the thing I thought when I was out at CBC last year. I was like, my God, there's 100 new manufacturers of these brewing tanks, and I just don't see there couldn't be that much margin in it, and you couldn't.
You would think a lot of them diversify into other industries as well, though, right? You know,
They would have to. Maybe some food industries.
right?
Other milk tanks.
Silos or
I would be willing to bet that a lot of these were already in other industries and got into the
Yeah,
brewing part of it to
because of
begin
it,
with,
the
because
explosion. Yeah.
There's a lot of stainless manufacturing in existence already. Restaurant equipment. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I think you're going to see a lot more of that happening.
So along those same lines, Minnetonka, Minnesota-based Cargill Malts is going out or is getting out of the brewing business. Most of their business is related to like food production, bakery supply, and that kind of thing. And they had a malting side too, which they're getting out of. It sounded to me like reading the story that it just wasn't a big part of their business, and based on
A big business.
was it?
Yeah, big business. It wasn't. Evidently, it's not as big as their other business.
Right.
And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about the malting industry in the United States is that United States is, I think, we're 13th in the world in barley production. I mean, that's nothing. I mean, it's compared to the rest of the world. So get this. This is what
If they figure out how to make ethanol from barley, that might change.
But the thing that really shocks me is that Germany is the size of Montana.
Mm-hmm.
It's the second in the world in production of barley. So I mean, you kind of look at it that way. It's kind of quite amazing that and that may be why some of the stuff's a little more expensive here than it is in comparison to what people are paying for it in the rest of the world.
Well, it's saying here too that 6 Row was their big production, and there's not a lot of people using 6 Row.
Wrong. One of the biggest customers was ABM Bev.
Well, ABM Bev does their own malting, so
Well,
it may have
Their own ricing.
their own what?
Ricing.
Ricing. Okay.
Ricing.
Rice.
Okay, so the last one we've got here, Kellogg's is partnering up with Seven Brothers Brewing in the UK to produce a beer made out of basically throwaway cornflakes. Reject cornflakes that they would otherwise throw away. They're getting over to this brewery and they're going to make a beer out of it called Throwaway IPA. It's a 5% like session IPA.
Away.
Yeah, terrible name. That's an awful name. I don't care if it's made from thrown away cornflakes. You don't ever want to call your product a throwaway. I don't think.
I'd rather them call it cock beer because there's a rooster on the.
It's disposable.
You know.
Well, I wonder if they're gonna do like a cereal mash with it, and then it's just gonna be like.
You'd probably have
I
to.
get it,
yeah.
cereal mash.
Pun intended.
Well, yeah.
Fun thing. But no, they back in the old days, you'd have to basically cook up, your adjuncts. So a lot of these like
Corn and rice. Yeah.
a lot of the old breweries had cereal cookers. And
Yeah.
they would cook this stuff up in order to break the protein.
When we did the Miller Coors tour a few years back, they still had a cereal cooker in there. They don't have it anymore because you can see that there's big pipes labeled corn syrup that lead to the to the boil kettle. They just put corn syrup in there instead. But yeah, they had a big cereal cooker in there
Right.
that we
And
saw.
when you do that, it doesn't import a whole lot of flavor. So
And what does it take to reject a cornflake? That's what I want to know.
yeah, if you
Slightly misshapen.
if you reject the cornflake, do you want to drink it?
Right?
If it's not good enough for food, but it's good enough for beer.
I don't know. I feel like every bowl of cornflakes I ever poured was half rejects.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
they should have thrown this away. There's no sugar on it at all. There's no tiger on the box. It's bullshit, man. These are just unfinished Frosted Flakes.
It's all bullshit.
They're crap.
That's even a better name than the one they're getting. Unfinished Frosted Flakes. That'd be a better beer name
Yeah,
than the
there you
one they're
go.
giving it.
All right, so that's that. Homebrew work we did this week. Anybody do any? I
A
didn't.
lot of kegging and bottling.
Yeah, I
Just
brewed,
an emptying of kegs.
I brewed today.
Nigel brews every
Wrote
day.
some blogs.
Not every day.
Seems like every day.
Not every day.
Yeah.
Almost every day.
I brewed and kegged what you're about to drink.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
In 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a little sneak peek into the secret twist behind Joey's beer that's coming up.
I kegged my Sweet Fang clone this morning, so.
Nice.
Unlucky.
Yeah,
Man, I'll tell you what, it was crazy. I don't know if it was the podcast or what, but I can honestly say out of all the clone beers or
Yeah.
specialty recipes that we've ever put out, that sumbitch flew off the shelf.
I worked.
It
I
did.
worked the day after that podcast, and I walked into 10 orders for it in the morning.
Yeah.
Online orders. 10.
I guarantee it was
And
us.
then we sold.
Promise you.
We sold out of the peanut butter extract, and then just customers coming in the store that Saturday. Because I worked with Nigel, we probably sold 5 customers the kit. Just hey, here's Justin's sample, try it, and so we got it in people's hands, and they were buying it too. So that was a great.
It's still so.
I say something just popped up to me that we missed in recent happenings, or did miss, but it's not on here. Is the Resilience IPA? That's now come out. That came out yesterday.
Cowtown tapped theirs, right?
Cowtowns is on the
Cowtown,
26th.
Wild Acre,
Oh,
Collective.
26. Okay.
Okay.
Collective tapped theirs yesterday. I heard that Martin
Martin
House
House
had
did,
it. Several breweries.
Wild Acre.
Wild Acre, yeah. I had it at Collective yesterday. To me, it's a 1990s California IPA, which is
Nice.
great. Like
Nice.
it was everything I wanted in that type of IPA. It was really enjoyable.
Probably clear too.
It was clear. From Collective, it didn't have any funk to it, so it was really nice and hoppy.
Yeah, so I'm looking really looking forward to. They're gonna have the Texas Craft Brewers Guild meeting up at Cowtown, North Texas, and so all of the guys are bringing their.
Oh, that'll be
Resilience,
Oh,
cool.
nice.
And we'll be able to taste them side by side.
Oh, that'll be really
Nice.
cool.
Oh, that's
I might go.
So
to
we're
that
all
and sit
going that
outside.
night, are we? Everybody from the shop is showing up that night. Hey,
It's like, I might go, but I'm going to sit outside.
You show up and you act like you didn't know. Oh, is there a guild meeting tonight? Oh.
No, he's referring to. I invited Nigel to go to the last one, and he texted me when he got there, and I didn't ever see his text. And then I'm like an hour or two later, he goes, "Well, in case you didn't notice, I went home." And I'm like,
I had no invite to that meeting. I can't just walk straight in. No. Well,
What's
I di-
gonna
Yeah,
happen
but I
if
didn't
you
know you
walk
were
in?
there. That's the thing.
They're not going to send the brute squad.
they're
out.
all gonna. There'll be a sudden silence.
Just walk in, shoe in hand,
Well, it would be more of a limp then, unless I took the other one off.
locked and loaded, dude.
They all scatter.
They
Oh
don't-
shit! It's
they-
Nigel.
They don't know about the shoe stuff yet.
Everybody knows about that.
So go out.
Sorry, Nigel, I felt really bad.
So
That's
wherever
right.
you are, go out, try the Resilience IPA. It goes to a great cause.
Yeah, good. Glad you brought that up. That is a good one. I'm looking forward to. I think I'm gonna get my friends from California will be here on the 26th. I think we'll go down to Cowtown and give that a shot.
There you go, perfect. I think every brewery in Fort Worth is just
Yeah, yeah.
you can go try them all.
Cowtown has barbecue though.
Yes, they do.
I haven't been over there and eaten yet. I've only had their beer.
Oh, you
good.
haven't? Oh, they're
Well,
really
I
good.
take that
Do
back.
you remember
I
having
take
their
that back.
beer?
I've eaten. It wasn't their food. It was some chicken they had sitting around. Was that before they opened?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just went and there was a bag of chicken on the bar and you just started eating.
Fucking A, man.
They're like, oh, I guess you can have some of this. And I was
And he went.
Don't put chicken out around me. That's all I'm saying. You know.
I don't even know whose it was.
No, I do remember being invited to eat the chicken.
Oh, did
Someone
you?
said if you want
Yeah,
some,
he
you can
was
have some
invited.
chicken.
I can't remember eating the chicken until after.
I don't just.
He didn't remember
No,
going to Cowtown.
No, once
but-
you brought it
put
up,
the
I
pieces
remembered
together.
it then, but it's still real spotty. But I do remember someone saying you can have some.
It's one of the few things he remembers of the night is somebody offering him chicken.
Yeah, well,
It's
what
the,
can I say?
It's the little things, right?
That's right.
That describes that night pretty well.
What was that, quad night? No.
I don't think I'm ever going to live that one down. I'm just glad I listened to the episode and I thought, oh, good, I just shut up during the second half. That's
You almost
that's
lost
ideal.
my patronage that night.
hey, I was good, man. I just shut up. Every once in a while, I'd. It was partially your fault, Eric.
The
So don't-
Patreon killer, Brandon.
Anyway, speaking
hey,
of
my
Patreon,
milkshake
do
brings all the boys together.
we probably need to call Aaron, right?
You know, I texted
Is it
him,
time?
but he didn't reply to that, so I'm not sure if.
Text.
We've lost another Patreon.
Thanks, Brendan.
I heard that song and he still do it this way.
Before we call him, we should probably get his beers ready too, right?
Yeah,
So we
wherever
don't
they
have to
are.
be like, now that we've got you on the phone, hold on a minute while we leave and go get all your beer. So let's do unsolicited answers to internet questions. We got 2 of them here. I'm going to skip to the second one first.
Sorry, it was the only sound effect I had handy.
Oh crap! They were all handy. It's a one board with a bunch of buttons on it. All right. So milling your own grain and equipment. What are the advantages of getting a mill and doing it yourself as opposed to just doing it at your local homebrew store?
Everybody should get their own damn mill. I'm just saying.
I
From
agree
where?
with you 100%.
But where should
on
I
that.
get one from, though?
I've got a 2-part answer to that question because not only do I agree that you should have your own mill if you can swing it, I upgraded to the Monster Mill recently at the shop, and wow, what an improvement that is over the last mill I had. I mean, it's night and day. What a fantastic mill that thing
Well,
is.
and that's the thing. That's one of the reasons that, and you'll hear me say this time and again. I don't carry junk that I
Mhm.
don't necessarily believe in. There's a lot of shitty $100 mills out there, and I'm sorry if you want a really good mill, you need to just pony up, spend maybe $50 or $100 more, get one that you can have for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Because you're never going to wear one of these things out. And,
What do you think that's gonna the layout on that, Stubby? What is that gonna cost you?
Monster Mill's a couple $100.
yeah, I was thinking it was cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so a
about
couple
$200
hundred for a good meal.
There's a couple different reasons to go with this over some of the other ones, and I had a different brand before that. It's American made. That's one. It's wider than a lot of them out there. So the milling surface of it is more. There's more than with some of the smaller ones out there, and that makes a difference. The knurling on it is different as well from the one I had. It's a lot more aggressive in terms of grabbing the grain and pulling it through. I didn't have to fight with it all. The adjustment to adjust the gap on it is really easy. You don't even need any tools to do it, which is really cool. Because what you'll do when you first set it up is you'll gap it with a feeler gauge, and then you'll use it once or twice, and then you've got to re-gap it because they shift a little bit. And so not having to have any tools to do that, to just be able to loosen it up, grab your feeler gauge, do it real quick, and then tighten it back up again is really, really nice. The hopper is nice and large, and then they have an extension that you can buy for it too, and you can pour, what is it? It's like
30 pounds.
it's 30 pounds of grain in it. That's really nice. It can be kind of a pain in the butt to sit there and pour grain in while you're screwing with your drill or whatever too. I think it's only 7 actually. Yeah, the original one's like 7, which is still, it's a fair amount, but it's not a full recipe usually.
And is this fully motorized, or do you have to use a drill or something like that?
No, I use a drill on mine. A lot of people use cordless drills. I use a quarter drill. I tried to set mine up with a big 1.25 horse bandsaw motor that I had sitting around. I've been saving for a while. The problem is they run too fast. You've got to step them down with pulleys, and it was just kind of a pain in the butt. Eventually, I just went back to a drill, and a drill works so well. I don't think there's any reason not to use a drill. So.
Yeah, and I can say this: we've got 2 mills with 3 rollers, and in 8 years, we've gone through as many mills as we have drills. and when I preface that by saying that we're buying the Pro mills, it's the MM3, which has the 2-inch rollers, and they can be a little challenging from time to time.
Yeah, I am not a fan of the 3 roller mills.
They're a pain, but I think they do a little bit better job. Because what happens is a lot of times people ask me, oh, well, it doesn't look like it's cracked, or it's not as cracked as I would like it to be, or people think that you got to have
Brandon.
flour.
Yeah.
But the problem is you really actually want that hull to stay intact. And the reason being is because first off, it helps you lauder better. You don't have to worry about stuck mash as much. But also, you can actually cause it, if you overmill your grain, you can actually cause it to be tanning. So that's some things to really think about as well.
So that covers what mill to buy and why it's worth buying a little bit better mill, why to have one in the first place. There's a couple different reasons. For me, now I keep bulk grain, and I just always have ingredients around to brew. So if Thursday night I could tell my wife is tired, she's going to go to bed early, and I feel like brewing, I just go out and brew. And it's nice to just be able to do it whenever I want. The other one is even when I was still buying a recipe at a time, sometimes you buy one and you intend to brew Saturday and something comes up, life happens, and then you don't get to brew. And now you've got milled
For 2
grain
weeks or
sitting
something,
around
yeah.
for 2-3 weeks, something like that, yeah. And I have always noticed a drop in efficiency with milled grain that's been sitting around.
Yeah.
I've
out.
read things that say that's not true and all that. My experience has always been that my efficiency drops when it's sitting around. So,
Well, that's interesting because Breeze even says you can go up to 6 months.
yeah, I don't buy that for a minute.
But, there has to be, I would say this, though. The one thing that you can worry about is if you do have a lot of milled grain around, you can rest assured that the little weevils that we were talking about will be in there shortly. Because they love cracked grain. So you can't end up with bugs with keeping a bunch of milled grain around. So just FYI.
So, I kicked it around for a long time whether or not to get a mill. And then once I got one, I thought, man, I love having this thing around. It's so nice.
It's what I totally agree. I love, as I'm heating up my mash water, milling my grain. I mean, it's one of those, or as I'm heating up my mash tun, I'm milling my grain right then. And so I know it's cracked, it's fresh, and like you said, I keep bulk grain, I keep some bulk hops. So I love being able to do it just on the fly and decide I want to brew today and then brewing.
Yeah, no, that to me is the biggest advantage of it. I try to plan out when I'm going to brew, but it's really tough.
But.
And then it got to the point where I can just brew on weeknights, and I like that. So
The biggest advantage, though, however, is you save money. Or at least you do around here.
you save money.
Yeah.
Having a mill.
How's that?
Because you can buy bulk grain.
Oh yeah, that's true. The bulk grain is less expensive. I forgot about that
Yes.
part of it. Yeah.
You worked here too long.
Well, that's true. Semi worked here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the things, especially if you have a homebrew store around. I mean, what we do is we give a discount on bags if you buy it here in the store. We really can't afford to do that on the website. However, you don't get penalized any on shipping for buying a full bag of grain. So anyway, little secret for you guys listening out there.
The other thing too is I use acidulated malt in my recipes just because I need to adjust my pH with every every time I brew. So I just, even if I wasn't keeping bulk ingredients around, I would be keeping some acidulated malta around to just add into the recipe, and you'd need to be able to mill it. So,
Yeah, you know what's really cool? You can use it for like cracking your pepper, and you can use it for like grinding up your coffee.
that's a lot of pepper.
Makes cracking ground beef.
He likes it
You're
spicy.
like, honey, we've got 7 whole pigs that we're roasting, and I need to pepper all of them.
Now.
I do that when I was doing my pepper beers.
No, I can see that. Yeah.
Grinding pepper up in it, dude.
Just put it in the mash.
Yeah, black pepper porter, baby. Just run that shit right through the middle.
With 7 pounds of
Make
pepper.
sure you run your grain through it after.
And then your next, your next beer is pepper beer too. Yeah.
Anyway, next.
Okay, the other question or topic was a PSA to newbies: your racking cane shouldn't have bubbles. I've been oxidizing my beers, every single beer, because I assumed the bubbles in my racking cane were just CO2 or something coming out of solution. Nope, it was oxygen mixing with my beer. I was wondering why all of a sudden I sucked at making beer, and this is why.
You know what got me about this one is, well, they're right about the fact that, you know, you're picking up a lot of oxygen sometimes depending on where it's coming in on the racking cane, whether it's through the seal at the bottom, through cracks in the cane somewhere, which people let them get too old. But all of a sudden, his beers were really oxidized. That was something to me. It's like, you're not getting that much oxygen in there that you're going to notice all of a sudden all your beers are going really bad really fast.
Well, I think it depends on what kind of beers you're brewing. If you're brewing a lot of IPAs, I think that makes a difference.
It might, but even
Hops
still, I
drop
don't think
out
you're...
so fast in
Yeah, they do.
IPAs if you let them get oxidized. And I think the biggest point where this happens is where your tubing meets the end of the racking cane. If it's not sitting on there right, it's letting air in there. So the bubbles you're seeing are not just bubbles sitting in there. That's new air being added in constantly that's then going into the keg. And with hoppy beers, I think it makes all the
I've
difference.
seen that happen before, and I just push my finger on the
Right.
hole, and then the bubble goes away.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Solutions from Stubby. Look at that.
There's your
Just
tip.
the tip for
That should have been your
tip.
just a tip, yeah. Put your finger on the hole and all the bubbles will go away.
So you put your finger on the hose, and then you pinch the hose.
You know, the other way
the
you
bubble
can do
go
that
away.
too is buy a tubing that's a little bit smaller and then heat it up in hot
Yeah.
water and put it on so it seals real
May never
tight.
come off.
That's actually
Yeah, then it never comes off, right? Yeah.
funny thing, though. That, I mean, really, we actually sell a size smaller than the actual siphon. And
Right.
The reason being is for that.
Yeah.
People always ask, "Oh, I need 3/8 tubing." And we go, "Okay." We just cut it. And nobody ever knows it's a little smaller, but we do that for a reason. So to make sure that it has actually fit on the end of your siphon.
Is this a new Stubby Secrets segment that we get?
This is a little.
Secrets from Stubby.
But yeah, I think that in the whole, the bad thing about siphoning is you will always have some oxygen in there no matter what. You're not getting around that.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and
there's
that's the-
oxygen to start, unless the only thing I've noticed with it is you fill that whole thing up with Star San, and you do what the usual other people used to do with just a simple racking cane and hoses to fill the whole thing with Star San and use it to siphon with the weight of the Star San leaving pulled the beer out, so there's never any oxygen contact. You know, you're in that territory. You know,
Well, and I gotta tell you, man, it's. I hate to say
Never
it,
done
but
that.
I think that's a.
All right.
Somebody ate their Wheaties this morning.
Yeah. So,
rejected
They're
cornflakes.
rejected,
That did it.
So for those of you not watching the video, Stubby just yanked his microphone off of the mount there. I think you're going to have to unplug the cable. to
Tell me
turn
you got that
thing
on
around.
camera.
Oh, yeah, we got that on.
Oh, that's awesome.
And some of my other favorite Stubby microphone moments where he's adjusting it with his nose. Like,
That was more than just the tip there, by the way. That was the whole shaft and everything.
He had a mouthful.
Wow.
That must have just been hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, literally.
All right. Do you even remember what you were saying?
No.
All right.
Moving swiftly on.
I think probably one of the most weak links in all of homebrewing is freaking auto siphon. I hate to say it. I mean, there's so many different things that can cause your beer to get jacked up.
what would you do differently then?
Buy a stainless bucket with a spigot on the bottom.
You can do that. But
And any fermenter with a spigot on the bottom is going to help for a start.
either that or even
If it's clean.
Yeah. so
which if
clear.
it's sitting in a
Stainless steel
controller,
racking cane. I know they're a pain in the ass, but I mean, you're not gonna have to worry.
Well, you don't have those, do you?
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
Do you?
yeah, but
I've seen a few things too where they do a push, a positive pressure on top of the beer itself, and then it pushes it up through the line and out. So like CO2 in, you know.
But
So.
I mean, I think there's a million places that nasty bugs can hang out in those things, and
Well, they
crack. And,
crack fast
and
too.
you
Yeah.
don't take much, and then you leave them in a star sand too long, and they get nasty, and then you got the oxidation problem. I just there's a guy out there that's making a stainless steel racking cane now. It's supposed to be, but it looks almost too complicated.
It's pretty nice, but it's $80.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah.
That's an expensive auto siphon.
And how often
man.
do you have to replace the rubber pieces of that? You know.
Actually, the way it's made, it looks pretty damn good. You can
Yeah.
take everything apart and clean it, and it's real simple. I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. I just have a real hard time spending $80 for an auto siphon.
Yeah, but
Right.
if you think about how often you replace your tubing. And
Yeah, exactly. Because I do that every time, just about. Well, not
Well,
every time.
unfortunately, I don't replace it that often. I probably
No.
should. Yeah, you're
I'll wait for
making
the
you're
spider
making
web
me
to show up.
rethink my decision here. But
But especially that one little inch at the very bottom, you ever notice it'll be like it'll get brown, and the rest of your siphon's all nice and clean.
I usually just chew that off of the bottom there. It gets like brown and goopy. And usually during the boil is a good time.
Where the auto siphon doesn't go all the way to the very bottom.
Hmm.
They have, like,
Oh, inside there. Yeah, I can't get to that, unfortunately.
looks really dirty.
You can't get your tongue down there?
I can't. No.
All right.
Okay, so
Did you hear back from Aaron?
Yeah, he's ready. I sent you the number.
He's just fell asleep.
Okay. Well, y'all ready?
He said, "Screw you guys, I'm out of here."
okay, so Aaron is a longtime listener, one of our more interactive listeners. He texts us and emails us and Facebook chats us and stuff. He's a patron supporter, and he sent us several beers here that we're gonna open and drink and talk about on the air. And then we've also got, like we said, Joey Carter in studio. He brought a little mini keg of some beer that we drank most of before the show. So
There's plenty.
hopefully
left.
y'all aren't.
No,
killing
there's
it.
good. No,
Is there?
we're good.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
Good. I want some.
So that one is going to be very interesting to talk about. There's a couple of really cool aspects about that beer that I think are good talking points. So let's try and get Aaron on the.
All right. I hope it's still.
Beep beep boop boop. Have yourself
Brandon.
a stubby little
Whoa.
Christmas.
So, in case you guys don't know, Aaron and I raced to see who can put the listener code word in faster.
Oh, okay.
That
All
is-
right.
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting to have him on the call at the same time.
And it's a good time to bring that up to listen after the break. We are going to have a listen in and win key phrase tonight. So
Aaron,
There he
All
is.
welcome, Aaron.
man, I thought it was
Yeah.
going to take longer to get tired of
You got a
that.
bunch of chickens. Welcome you.
All right, Aaron. So we're here. We're going to talk about some of your beers that you made. Once again, thank you for being such a good patron, and definitely we appreciate all of your interaction and stuff like that. It makes our job here a lot more fun.
You learn?
Well, we have people come in all the time that listen to the show, and they always have something usually rude to say to somebody, like, "Hey, eat a bag of dicks" or something. Where's Jared at?
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Don't
where's
spoil it.
Where's that guy that?
Uh-oh.
Where's that guy that talks about Arkansas? I want to beat him up. So, Brandon.
It's not me. It's not me.
So anyway, we're
Unfairly.
pouring one of your beers here, man. Which one are we drinking first?
The prickly pear saison.
Pear, Saison. So tell us a little bit about it, man.
It's open.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks. the first bottle definitely was. The second bottle doesn't seem to be quite the gusher that the first was, but
It's not nearly as bad as the champagne beers that messed up the studio prior to the mics being turned on. So don't worry, we're handling gushers around here tonight. There's another bottle of that, y'all. You don't have to pour so little.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell, okay.
That's a great beer.
Brave. Wow.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
It-
Yeah. It actually tastes like a pear to me. It does have a pear flavor.
What yeast did you use, Aaron?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a great yeast. Is this your first time working with prickly pear?
Nice.
Tastes like a pear.
Awesome, man. This
Yeah,
is
that's the way to do it.
So one thing I'll say about this is I've had a lot of prickly pear like meads and beers before, and I generally, as a rule, I don't like them most of the time. We had one at Iron Mash that Rar put on that was really good, and this one is really fantastic. And you got the balance of the prickly pear just right. I think it's not overpowering.
Well, the
Norm-
concentration probably.
Yeah,
helps a
yeah,
lot,
exactly. Yeah, a lot of times that flavor kind of takes over everything else. I like that earthy watermelon descriptor that you used
Well,
for it.
here's something that I found interesting too, Aaron. You actually said that when you took the pears, you actually put the whole fruit in the pot and then boiled it up. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about those needles.
Yeah, a question. One of the things
I remember
that,
those.
that I've experienced is some people get a pickle flavor from the prickly pears, and somebody told me that the reason being is because you get that from the skins on the prickly pear, but I don't get that in this.
I don't get it at all.
No.
No,
Yeah,
I don't know that I've ever gotten a pickle flavor from it.
really?
Maybe cucumbery, but just
Yes.
a
I can
hint.
see a
It's
little
just
bit of that.
hint.
Yeah, just a hint of that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that was it then. Yeah, it is
Okay.
very nice.
How much did this dry out, Aaron? What was your finishing gravity?
It's pretty dry.
So it went to 0. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the ABV on this? Oh, really? Okay.
Sheesh.
Okay. I figured with all of that prickly pear and honey, boy, we might have been really getting up there. But
Well, a 6.8 for a
Yeah,
saison
6.8's
still.
pretty good.
that's up there. I mean, I'm thinking 7, 8, 9% maybe,
Yeah.
but
6/8's really close to 7, Brandon.
but it's not.
You did a bottle condition on this? Okay, yeah, perfect. That was 1052 before you pitched the juice in, though, right?
Okay. Well, it's pretty easy. You take the 1050 and you just divide it by however much volume you're putting it into. Really, it's you
It.
What was the volume of the prickly pear juice that you put in? Was it like a half a gallon? Okay.
So calculus is easy to a mathematician. So yeah, sure, it's easy, Brendan. It's easy.
You think I'm a mathematician? I'm about as far from mathematician as it gets.
I got to tell you, Aaron, I've tried using prickly pear before, and at the time when I bought mine, all I could get was the green. And I got a bunch of the green prickly pear, and then I got a little bit of the pink, and mine just came out very vegetable, almost bitter. So, man, this is really well done. This is really light. I really enjoy it.
It's really good.
So the way you did it, next
And the
time I do
Saison
mine,
notes,
I think I'm going to try and do it that way. Is boil it and kind of mash it and kind of make a juice out of it.
The reason I asked on the finishing gravity too, I was wondering if you were getting any unfermentable sugars out of the prickly pear, but apparently not.
Yeah, if it.
Oh, wow.
I think it's right at the sweet spot, really. Yeah.
You know that those card drops are a little too much sugar for a 12-ounce bottle. They really are. They're actually built for a half liter.
I think it's just right for a saison, though.
Yeah, perfect for a
Yeah.
saison.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that may be why.
It wasn't like you lost half the beer when you opened it. It was a bit of gushing, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't
it
that
wasn't
bad.
excessive.
I
So
think that's what you want, though, with a saison.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
The other thing is, however, that I would imagine I would be willing to bet you money. That's a diastatica strain too.
Yeah. Well, I think
So it's gonna continue to chew.
I think most of the saison strains
Yeah, they are.
diastaticas, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that French one, it really dries things out, big time. So.
I really like that Mangrove Jack. If anybody is listening and likes the brew saisons and they haven't tried that Mangrove Jack saison yeast, I really recommend it. It's one of my favorites.
You're gonna get more of the pear apple of the French version.
not
with
not
this
so
than
much
you would
like the Belle
Belgian.
saison though.
No,
Like the Belle saison is real pear. It kind of
I
stands
see.
out.
I feel like there's a lot of pear and apple in the French. It's whereas Belle has some more unique,
And I really get a lot
unusual
of pear
character, lemon
off of this
pepper and
beer.
things that show up in that one. But
See, I don't get much of the
neither
pepper
one of
out
those are as earthy as a Belgian. You know, so just don't expect Belgian.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I get what you're going at pair wise. It'd be more like I think the ester maybe.
Right, the esters. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question here. Are you pitching 1-pack or 2-packs?
So, man, yeah, 2-pack is dead, man. Everybody knows that.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh my God.
All right, so what's the next one
so,
we got going here?
So I just cracked your next beer here. Greedy bitch. I guess that's about the ex-wife or something. So we're gonna pour this up. So it was for the ex.
Celebratory beer brew day, right?
Woo woo! Oh, where's it?
Yay, divorce. It's kind of weird.
We love divorce.
Is there more than one of those?
Everyone, you be glad.
Just one of those?
Early Christmas present.
Is there any one of these?
No, there's two.
Oh,
there's two.
We
Let's
have
open
two of
them up.
both. Yeah.
So what kind of beer is it? It's not an ESB. I can tell you just by looking at it.
We probably should have drank that one first, just FYI.
Blame the server.
Well, I'll tell you, the orange blossom honey really stands out.
It does.
At what point did you put the honey in? Really? Okay, I'm surprised. It really carries a lot of the honey flavor through. You can taste it right up front. So I wouldn't call this an Irish Red or an ESB.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I really like it.
Amber. Yeah. It'd
Well,
be a
greedy bitch
specialty.
could be that. I mean, that works because like you might want to get greedy with this beer.
I don't know, American Amber.
I think it's
American
close to an
Amber.
American Amber, really.
Yeah,
If I
it
had
seems
to,
that way.
like an
Yeah.
orange blossom American Amber.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with the honey characteristic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odd, you wouldn't think that much honey flavor would come in.
Well, it's not being
Well, you
stepped
know-
on by the caramel malt at all. So
Yeah, the balance of the caramel malt's
Yeah.
real nice. You know, at Hop Fusion, they're putting the honey in the boil kettle, and they get a lot of flavor carry through on theirs. I don't know how. I've always had to put it in
Passed over.
during fermentation to keep the honey flavor in there. But
Well,
yeah.
you know, I think too. I don't think all orange blossom honeys are created equal.
Well, I'm sure that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Is this local honey there?
They grow.
Man,
So-
I could drink a lot of that.
This is a
Right?
beer that I think
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever try to get too hung up on trying to call it anything in particular. I wouldn't try and enter it in competition. I would just brew this beer and drink it and love it because it's great. But I don't know that you're going to fit it into any particular category. And in competition, they're going to ding it for this or that or whatever. When it's just a great drinkable beer that is, I'm with Nigel. I could drink a ton of this.
Yeah.
alternative fermentable.
What's
yeah,
the ABV on
possibly
this
work
one?
for that.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
You did a good job. Oh yeah,
I like that idea.
did a good job.
Just sit there and look at it as Lombardi trophy.
What you can do is if he gets
Had to
mad
get to
about
that
it,
at
you
some
just
point.
say,
It was
look,
coming up sometime.
if you're mad I'm stealing your medal, then fight me for it. And if you can't take it away, then you didn't deserve the medal in the first place.
Wow.
Aaron, how old's your son?
Oh, they might
yeah.
beat you up.
You
Yeah,
can
right,
take
yeah,
both.
yeah. Holy cow.
Fight dirty, though. That's the key.
With your children, fight dirty every time, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll be honest, I've never heard us use one of those jokes
No,
ever.
not at all.
Ever.
I attempted before the show to try and tell everybody, hey, let's not make any Aaron Rodgers jokes during this. And I don't know. I
It
think
never
we did pretty
works.
good, really. Actually, it was
And he
very
brought
limited.
it. He brought up the
Still
discount
never
double
works.
check.
Yeah.
So
I mean, wouldn't it be an appropriate week to make a Cowboys joke?
It's always appropriate.
Well,
for
the
that.
Packers are already out of the
Yeah,
playoffs.
the Packers fired their coach last week or 2 weeks ago, so which I'm sure being a Bears fan made you happy. As y'all you clinched the NFC North, right?
Oh, we can't make this a football show.
Yeah.
No.
We can't make this a
Bears,
Bears show.
Bears are doing great. So.
No, but getting back to the beer here, I think
Duh,
this is
beers.
one of the things. This is one of the reasons I don't enter competitions anymore, because when I brew a beer like this, I want it to just be what it is. I just want to enjoy it, and I don't want to get caught up in, even in alternative fermentables, you're still going to have to declare some sort of a base style for it, and it's going to get picked apart when. I don't say this lightly, Aaron. I think this is a perfect beer. I think you got it exactly right. I wouldn't change anything about this. I would keep brewing it like it is and drink it and drink it and drink it because it's great. So,
Yeah, that's it.
Well, and I got to agree with a lot of what Brandon said. You know, we have our Bluebonnet competition coming up, and I was looking at what do I brew that I could enter, and shit, I don't brew anything to style. Everything I brew is so in a gray area of a lot of styles. So, yeah, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to enter anything because it's going to be picked apart for one thing or another because nothing is to style that I brew. So, I mean, when you're throwing Cinnamon Toast Crunch into the mash, it's hard to fit. It's hard to find a style that fits that.
Yeah, that's not brewing for competition.
This isn't a breakfast show.
Unless that's what herb, spice, vegetable.
The throwaway IPA.
Ooh. Nice. So we do have a question here. Is Casey's asking how much honey did you add at Flame Out? Okay,
so
a pound.
man, I'm really amazed at how much honey character you're getting out of it with that much
It's
honey.
really good.
It's got to be a high quality honey.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I was hoping to ask about, because you are in Arizona and we talk a lot about brewing in warm environments out here, but it's nothing like out where you're at. Can you tell us a little bit about your brewing setup and you know how you're dealing with brewing in the climate that you're in? Woo! Like an immersion chiller?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Isn't that what you do, Grant?
Yeah.
I got to tell you, that is a
Immersion.
very underrated aspect of using the immersion chillers, is having the wort moving rather than just sitting there. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's like a 75% improvement
yeah.
on just a standard immersion chiller.
So you don't brew during the summer then? I'm not talking about groundwater. I'm talking about standing out by a burner when it's 115 degrees outside. Wow. You deserve a medal, dude.
Wow.
That's damn
That's
good.
great.
Yeah.
Because I imagine the groundwater's 100 degrees, right? here gets at, what, 85, 90
It,
degrees.
it comes out as steam over there.
Well, very cool. Thank you very much for coming on and for sending us these beers. Both these beers were outstanding. I liked them a lot.
Yeah, they were fantastic. And Aaron, thank you again for being a patron. We greatly appreciate it. It really helps us out here as the show. And I think a lot of times people don't realize, you know, like you were saying earlier, Brandon, that we don't do a bunch of advertisements. We try not to get.
We don't do any advertisements.
Yeah,
Nothing.
So I mean, other than, you know, all the personal shop.
Well,
Oh, that place.
But yeah, the important thing is that when you listen to us, the one thing that we wanted to, when we say we like something or we dislike something, it's not because somebody's paying us. So we feel like we give you a little more objective opinion. But thank you again for helping out. We greatly appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate all the videos you guys put out. I buy a lot of stuff from town, but the information I get from you guys and the quality of stuff I get from you, you have things that don't have here. So
Sure.
I wish that you guys weren't so far away. Mostly Medic got me working 8 days a month, but I still can't find time to get to Texas.
Well,
No,
whenever
you're always welcome.
we can show you around.
Hey, Aaron, before you go, did you hear the intro tonight?
I don't.
Did you? You didn't hear Stubby singing?
I don't think that was live.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, was it? Oh,
It was
okay.
live, yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
You can't hear Stubby now.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
there's
that's
there's,
what-
Really?
there's
that's
been a
what the
few
complaint
comments.
is.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That's a
Okay.
problem.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
yeah. We had to cut him off.
The namesake of the show, they can't hear.
But yeah,
right?
definitely, Aaron. I can speak. I work full time at the shop, and I get enough of your orders. So yeah, you definitely order a lot from us. We appreciate you keeping us busy.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if you want to stick around for a minute, I mean, as we keep talking about the beers and whatnot, because I think we'll go to break after this, right? So.
Well, are we gonna talk about Joey's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta-
Yeah,
gotta
okay.
get
Yeah, that's what I'm
him
saying.
in.
After
Yeah.
this beer,
If you-
so
yeah.
if you want
Awesome.
So
Hang
we're
out
gonna
and
talk
listen
about
since
a
you
beer
guys
that
compete
you've
all the
never
time for
had
the-
and you can't have right now.
well, if he comes to Texas,
So you spoke to us instead of having ice cream. Yeah, sounds that way.
That between that and stealing their karate medals, you're gonna be in hot water. So maybe we better let you run.
That's right. Well, I know which drugs are untraceable, so it's fine.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for being on with us, Aaron. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
yeah,
Aaron.
man, have a good one.
Thanks a lot.
Happy
All right,
holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Have yourself a stubby.
I'm curious if y'all can hear me out there now. Let me know. I'm hoping it works now.
We'll see
Yeah,
what the
let us know on
responses are.
Facebook if you're picking Stubby up now in the feed.
Raise your hand if you can't hear me.
because there was a comment, we can't hear Aaron or Stubby, my Christmas present. So I don't know, from the same person, so I don't know if that was
Wow.
That was their Christmas present.
Well, we're
That
not.
has
we're
to be
not
somebody we know, right?
We're not
I
going to
mean,
name names. That wouldn't be fair to name names.
It's not somebody who got us all sick a week or two ago.
No,
no.
Oh, that person I would like to get my hands on. Let me tell you. I suffered last week. Suffered.
I'll never forget that. He was sitting there and his eyes are all watery. He goes, I'm sick. I'm going to get all you sick. And I was like,
Well, thank
Well,
you
he
for
did,
that. I
apparently.
appreciate it very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
no Stubby still, is what the report is.
When you hear me coughing tonight, I'm still getting over you.
No Stubby yet.
Yeah. There's.
Well, we can hear him.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, Dick shirt. There's no Stubby.
No, there's still no Stubby? Oh, well.
Yeah.
Hey, well, Stubby came in and solved the problem.
Well, we talked for quite a while, and I didn't notice the dicks on the shirt. So until you just said that.
Oh, wait. Yeah, well.
Did you say
Don't
the
you
dick
have
in
one?
the shirt?
Well, no.
That's probably more accurate. Thank you, Nigel. for
All right,
clarifying.
so as they solve the problem, let's talk about a beer.
Yeah. So Joey, why don't you get on the mic and tell us about this one, because there's a couple of different really cool aspects about this that I want to get into. So tell us what the beer is and what you did when you brewed it.
So I really love Petticolas Brewing Company out of Dallas has a phenomenal beer, and it's Velvet Hammer.
They have a lot of phenomenal.
They
beers.
do. They really
Just
do.
one?
This is the one that kind of put them on the map. Though.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It-
Velvet.
Isn't it this the one they won the award for this year?
Probably.
Did they?
won a
Yeah.
bid
I
for
think
it.
so. I think they won a
Their
big award this year.
GABF.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I found a recipe where they tweeted out their percentages, and so I just went off with it, and I brewed it, and I was telling you guys earlier the story. After a couple days, my fermenter has spout on the bottom, and I just kept drawing from the fermenter. I have never. So when I took my final gravity, or I just took a gravity reading from the beer, I couldn't quit drinking out of the what's it called
The sample tube.
the sample tube.
Mhm.
Yes, I couldn't. I couldn't stop. I kept going back.
So real quick, this is an Imperial Red IPA, basically, is what
Yes.
it is, and it's a 9%
Strong ale. Yeah.
It's a 9% beer.
It's not
Yeah.
a full-on IPA because there's not a whole lot of aromatics in it usually.
Oh man, there's too many hops to call it a strong ale.
It's
I think.
really bitter. It's intensely bitter,
Yeah.
but
It
it's
fits
more
in
strong
the
ale.
American strong ale
Yeah.
category, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's
strong
where it
ale.
fits.
Mm.
And
I would argue
It's
that,
not
but-
floral.
doesn't-
you
It
know.
doesn't feel right, but that's where it sits. We're looking at
It's
at
malt
right
driven
around
still.
100 IBUs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's got the malt to support it. It's got
Yeah,
a lot
it
of caramel
does.
malt in the body, and it's
a malt-driven
9%,
beer.
So obviously, it's got a lot of base malt
It's just balanced right, and I don't know how, because I've brewed some IPAs that they'll wreck your palate, and they're at 70 IBUs, and I brewed this, and I'm like, wow, I can't
Well,
believe
in it.
how
This is the reason that
smooth it
I
is.
hate to see IBUs on beer menus, because they're totally meaningless by themselves. When you don't know other things about the beer, the IBU rating is totally
It's meaningless. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So 100 IBUs, you would think that would be uber
In your
bitter.
face.
Right.
Now it's
Right.
got an assertive bitterness to it, but it's got so much malt to balance it out, and it's such a big, bold beer
Right.
that I
Well,
don't
if
know
you
that
read
I would go
American
any
Strong
lower.
Ale or something like that, you should know it's probably going to mean bitterness versus, say, a West Coast IPA or New England IPA. That's where it really should tell you based off the style, but most people aren't going to necessarily jump right in on like knowing what that style is
Well,
going to be.
once
so.
you go imperial too, it changes everything.
yeah,
When you bump your alcohol up to 9%,
double IPAs.
you have got to get your bitterness up. I mean, otherwise, it's going to be a big sweet syrupy
big
mess.
giant-
So.
yeah.
Well, see,
What-
the Untapped has it as an Imperial / double red ale, and has it at 9%.
American Strong Ale.
and 85 IBU. So that's that's not far off from what you calculated.
I think it's too hoppy for an American Strong Ale. I think it's more on
This
the
is
red IPA
it's.
side.
I think to me, this beer has always been along the lines of Arrogant Bastard. It's just not the same vein, but they're right there because it's
this one's
malt
so much
driven
better.
and
It's got so much more hop
very
flavor.
very bitter. It's a bitter beer, malt driven though, but it's still malt forward more than it is hop character. Always.
what's
Every time
funny-
I've had Velvet Hammer, it's
I brought this beer in, and I told everybody, I said, don't tell Brandon when I brewed this, because I brewed this beer last week, and I kegged it Monday or Tuesday. It was 6 days grain to glass, and it's a 9%, so 1084 to 1014. It was at final gravity in 3 days with SO4.
Good healthy pitch. You poured 3 packs
I
in,
did,
right?
3 packs.
What
yeah.
was your fermentation temperature on it?
I've never heard of him.
60? I think this one's 64. I did 66
64?
last
Okay.
time, but I did 64 this time.
The esters are restrained, so I would have guessed it was in the lower
yeah.
60s there. But a big healthy pitch of yeast like
Yeah.
that, we can't say enough about that. That makes all the difference. As much yeast as you think you should be pitching, you should probably be pitching more.
Well, and everybody's afraid to overpitch right now, but I mean we're brewing small batches, and
Yeah.
it's not going to hurt.
Yeah, I don't think there's a real danger of overpitching on a homebrew level at all. And with a beer like this, where I think freshness makes a big difference, this tastes nice and fresh. The hop flavor in it is still nice and bright. I think that if you're able to
Meridian
drink
Bright.
it in 10 days like that, that's great. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, what you'll find is this will just like smooth out any kind of edges that it has as it ages. It's just going to smooth out.
See, one of the big pitfalls to fermenting and drinking fast like that is not necessarily an incomplete fermentation or it's not going to finish out. It's the byproducts. It's going to be the diacetyl and that kind of thing that need to be cleaned up. And that's what you solve with that big, heavy pitch of yeast, is there's plenty of yeast to clean up after themselves after they're done, particularly with an English strain like that likes to, if you've ever used SO4, it drops out like a brick. It's done, and bam, that beer clears up immediately, and it's like a really
It's crazy.
compact
Yeah.
yeast cake on the bottom. And you want to make sure that before it does that, it's cleaned up all the crap that it's made, and that's where I think that you got it right, is you pitched enough yeast to let it do all that.
So this is the third time I brewed it. Twice I've drank it. The second time, of course, I left the spout open in the fermenter, but I'm not going to talk about that. Yeah.
Damn.
But the third time, this time I put and I told you guys about this. I put gelatin on it, and it turned into. I mean, you think SO4 is a brick? Put some gelatin on it, and it hardened. I could have firmed up my house with that thing.
You can
It-
almost
it was
peel it off the bottom of the
ridiculous.
fermenter
Yes,
like a big
it was
pancake
bad.
with gelatin on it.
Yeah, I had to get help to lift the fermenter, and it was empty because but it was
Bill
solid
Cosby would have used it
rock.
as some jello.
Moving forward.
I'm sorry.
It's
bro.
tough. It's tough to do the Bill Cosby thing anymore without
It is.
rape jokes immediately coming to mind. Is the thing. It's like it used to just be pudding pops.
There are
and now
just so
it's-
many.
Just have my pudding pop.
How could you have rape jokes when he's wearing shirts
He went
like
there.
that?
Yeah, the guy in the dick shirt doing the Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
The
thing.
listeners
guy in
don't
the
even
big
know what
shirt
you're
went
talking
there
about.
during my beer review.
I know.
Thanks.
He did.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have rape jokes injected into you.
I said nothing
man.
about rape.
Welcome to the show.
I was only talking about Jello.
So the other thing that I want to talk about this, and it's something we've talked about a lot on the show, because SO4 is one of those yeasts that I don't know. I've never been able to get it to do what I want.
Me neither.
But the thing is, I've tasted other people's beers that are great with it, and so I know it's just me. And I'm wondering if the pitch rate is the key to it. Then,
You might be on that.
Well, it's cheap,
Maybe.
so try 2 packs.
well,
or
that's
3,
you
or
know,
4.
That's exactly right, and that's the beauty of dry yeast. And Stubby said it forever, and I've heard people give him crap about, well, yeah, you're a homebrew store owner, you want people to buy more than 1 pack of yeast, and it's like, no, because that's what we do ourselves. Is we just it's so inexpensive to buy another pack of dry yeast. You can buy with SO4. I think you can buy 3 packs of yeast for what 1 liquid yeast
yeah,
pack
I
costs.
buy
easily.
well.
Well, that-
sorry, Stubby. I buy 3 packs on Amazon for $9. My bad.
Yeah, I was saying, and
But
ours,
then they'll
our-
deliver it and leave it in the sun.
ours runs about 2 to 1. I mean, there's about 2 dry packs cost wise to 1 liquid. So.
It depends on the dry yeast. Some of it's more expensive than others.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
fair
remember
enough.
on the fermented.
the SO4, I want to say that runs like $4.
Yeah, it's not.
Is
it's
it $4?
cheap.
Okay, all right.
But the
Give or take, I might be wrong.
Yeah, there's a few of them that are really inexpensive that are like
Yeah.
$3. Yeah, yeah. So hell, what are you talking? $2-3 extra to a batch of beer to really make sure it's going to come out right? You're crazy if you don't do that.
Well, that's
You can get it 1 extra ounce of hops is $3. You know,
True. Yeah.
so
and that's a cheap hop. No,
Right.
I tell customers all the time. I mean, you're looking at, if you're doing an extract batch, you're looking at $30+ in ingredients. If you're doing an all grain, maybe 25. But I mean, you're still looking at a good investment. Spend the $3 or $4 extra dollars, get the extra pack of yeast, and
Yeah.
ensure that your beer finishes right.
Right.
You've already invested enough.
Because I want more of this beer. So
And when we've had Kevin, when we had
Yes.
Kevin Lane on here, he's talked
if you
a lot
only used
about
1
that.
pack, I might not want more of that beer.
It
Yeah,
might
no,
just be a
that's
shit
that's
beer.
probably true. Yeah. When we've had Kevin Lane on here, he's talked a lot about that. It's one of the reasons that they hesitate to put too much information on the pack about exactly how a yeast is going to perform, because there's so many factors that go into it, pitch rates and temperature and all that kind of thing. And so I'm a big believer, and it's something I do myself. Is just pitch an extra pack of yeast on there. You know, you won't regret
overpitch.
it. Yeah.
Homebrewers overpitch.
Well, and that's the same thing.
Unless
you know,
the yeast is happy to be underpitched.
The only time that you're ever going to have an issue with underpitching, or overpitching, is typically in a pro brewing environment where you're going to be. The problem that you have with overpitching is mutation, and you're not going to have that
Right.
problem with.
Well, I've also heard of autolysis because in the large conical fermenters, it all settles in the bottom, and you've got that head pressure, and that creates autolysis where it's pushing the yeast down on it. Where you're never going to have any issue like that. I don't care if you're brewing. If you have a 40-gallon fermenter at home, it's not going to be a problem. You know, especially with a 7-gallon bucket, you're not going to hurt it. So.
And see, the only time I think that I've ever overpitched my yeast is I used the Omega, one of their Hefeweizen ones, and I built up a 2-liter starter, pitching it in a Hef. I got a ton of. Okay, well,
This is like the
Yeah.
Oscars
I guess,
where they play
we
us
must be
out.
past
I
our
guess it
usual
must be
break
time for
time.
break.
yeah. But to wrap that up, I got a ton of banana out of that batch, and I think it's because I built up too big of a starter. And
Yeah,
I
the
overpitched,
Weizens,
so
you have to really watch the pitch rate on it, depending on what you're
Yeah.
wanting out of it. Yeah, and then there's a lot of other factors that go into it too. Temperature, head
temperature,
pressure,
exactly
makes a big difference. So, all right.
So,
Well, I think that's a good.
I was going to say,
good,
Joey, do you have anything else that you want to add about the beer?
No, not about the beer. I was gonna say, have y'all tried the Mangrove Jack the wheat? I did a Hefeweizen with that, and I was impressed.
I liked it. Yeah.
It came out of the fermenter like a what's it? 3068.
Mm-hmm.
It came.
Yeah.
It went crazy.
Yeah, my Hefeweizen
Without-
that I did that was part of our challenge.
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
I used
Yeah.
that yeast. I liked it. I thought it was great.
It did well, and it didn't have any sulfur at all.
No, it's a little bit more restrained on
It
both
is,
the
yeah.
esters and the phenols, so it's not going to be a big in-your-face like banana and clove bomb like the 3068 can be if you do it right. But in this beer that I was doing, I liked that aspect of it, that it was a little more restrained. So that was a good
Yeah.
one.
But thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks for
Yeah.
coming on.
Thanks for coming on.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some Czech lagers, which is something I've really been interested to talk about and drink, especially hearing what you've talked about when you've been over there. So that should be really interesting.
I hope that they don't taste exactly like the things you described.
Well,
He hopes you were
There.
lying.
The weird thing is that we'll see. I would imagine that these won't have as much as some of the ones that we have locally. These are pretty big breweries that I brought back.
All right, well, great. Come back in a few minutes, and we're going to drink some beer.
There's some dark fruit there.
Yeah.
It's still a little thin down the middle. Like I can feel that edge
Yeah.
of what's sugar and what isn't.
Yeah.